Hey guys, welcome to Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Tampa Bay Real Producers Podcast. This, of course, is the podcast that is made for real producers by real producers and with none other than Tampa Bay's real producers. And now in 2024, also with our preferred partners of Tampa Bay Real Producers platform. And today we have one of those partners with us today, Marilyn Scolaro. How are you, Marilyn?
Hey, Don, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
No doubt. It's good to have you on the show. We're excited to kind of dive in a little bit. And so, as I told you off camera, Marilyn is our first partner that we've had on here on the calendar. And so you'll be seeing more coming up here in 2024, those of you who have been following our podcast. And so we wanted to give an opportunity for our partners to be introduced and to tell their stories as well with a lot of the top agents that I know many of you have gotten used to and accustomed to hearing from and seeing. And so we have some amazing partners that really make our entire platform possible. If it's not for people like Marilyn, we wouldn't be able to have a Tampa Bay Real Producer. So ultimately, the magazine we put out, the events that we put on, literally everything that we do in our platform, including, the genesis of being able to do this podcast, started because of the support of the preferred partners within this Tampa Bay community. And so Marilyn and the Van Dyk team have been one of those partners for not just Tampa Bay. You actually help us in multiple markets across the country. I believe you guys work with us in at least Orlando, I know here, and I think even on the East Coast as well with a couple of the markets over there. So I guess we're going to start with your background, but I'm curious from a partner's perspective. I'm going to ask you a question off the cuff here. Why do you think Real Producers as a franchise has been appealing to Van Dyk and something that you guys have been a part of?
So I think as preferred vendors or partners, something that helps to make not only the lending side, but other partners successful in their careers and business is working with qualified agents. So Tampa Bay Real Producers already sets the bar of we really aim to help those who are trying to get into production, but we want to focus on those who are already in production. So it's a really great place to be where you know that you're working with like-minded individuals who are producing. So having some qualified connections is super helpful from the Van Dyk and other standpoints from other industries, I'm sure.
Yeah, makes sense. And we kind of do a lot of that vetting, for you in a way. So
Yes.
It helps maybe target who those top producers really are and try to provide a platform and an environment that allows them to communicate and collaborate, effectively and hopefully comfortably so that they're willing to build those relationships.
Yeah, you definitely do the heavy lifting on that. I
Yeah.
would say that's probably the least fun part for me is trying to vet the people. I'm very much, I like the energy of people when I meet them. It's very organic for me. So having the Tampa Bay Real Producers platform already vetting people and just allowing me to come in and support and meet people is really kind of an amazing opportunity.
Yeah.
I believe, yeah.
Well, we appreciate the support as well, because like
Yeah.
I said, without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. So let's talk about you and your situation with Van Dyk and how that whole thing started. So for people who might not know, you mentioned off camera, you did grow up in this area, right, in Tampa Bay. So I'll have you kind of start there. Throughout growing up in Tampa Bay, at what point did you get yourself kind of into the finance side, interested in mortgages? What was your background before that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a fourth generation Tampa native. So I know quite often people think I'm quite a unicorn, but there's more people here than you guys think. But I actually, prior to getting into the industry, I was in the cigar industry for about 9 years.
There you go. True born and bred of Tampa
yes,
Bay, huh?
that's
like
right.
the first industry of all of Tampa, I think, is the cigar industry.
The history that's involved there, being on, an Ybor. So I worked for J.C. Newman Cigar Company, the outskirts of Ybor. The building itself has been there since 1910, so rich in history there. And then the Newmans themselves have been around for a long time. So specifically in Tampa, they moved down in 1954. So really built a lot of connections through cigars and learned how to not network, because you're really enjoying the people that you're with in the cigar industry. There's a common ground that brings you together. So building that bond is something really special. So I learned how to build bonds through my experience in the cigar industry.
That's cool.
And have been able to kind of transfer that to what I'm doing now with mortgages.
Was that your first job out of college?
That was not. I was in retail sales for a little bit, managing Justice Just for Girls. For anyone who has a little girl, limited to Justice Just for Girls. So that's kind of where I started.
You're speaking to a guy that has 3 little girls. So.
Yeah, so
yes.
you're very aware of that. So I did that for a little while before I transferred over to the cigar industry.
Okay. How long were you in it for?
So for cigar industry, I was in there for about 9 years, but Justice Just for Girls, I think I started when I was in high school. So I've been hustling since was 15, 16 and, don't plan on stopping anytime soon. So,
and somehow after the 9 years in the cigar industry, did somebody reach out to you in the mortgage space and thought you'd be a good fit, or was it always kind of appealing to you?
So I left the cigar industry in a pursuit of passion. So one of my passions is floral. So would like to, open up my own floral business one day. So I was kind of in this space, leaving the cigar industry, wanting to pursue that. Was doing some weddings for flowers. COVID hit. When COVID hit, kind of stopped everything in its tracks. And so I took some time to figure out, what do I want to do next? I actually, started to think, do I want to go into IT? What do I want to do? I was lost a little bit at that time. And the mortgage industry just kind of fell in my lap. So funny story, me and my husband were in the process of purchasing an investment property. The loan originator, who I currently work for his branch, Sean Miller, was processing the loan for us. And my husband is a business owner. So his situation for financing is usually complex.
A little tricky.
Tricky, right? So I get a call from my husband one day. A lot
of loan people don't know how to work with those 1099 professionals.
Yeah, no. My husband calls and he's like, you better call Sean, because if he asks me for one more effing document, I'm going to lose my mind, and we're not going to do it. We're not buying the property. And I'm like, okay, no problem. Okay, I'll handle it.
I can relate to that. I went through I've been a 1099 since I was 18. So buying some property isn't always an easy process.
Never an easy process.
Yeah.
So I got on the phone with Sean. Sean has no shame in clicking, so you'll hear the keypad going while you're talking to him. So I was talking with him, and at one point I'm like, you sound busy. Are you busy? And he's like, yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, do you need some help? I can come help if you want some help. And he's like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah, I'll be there. I'm in a weird transition in my life, and COVID stopped what I was currently doing. And backstory is, my mom has been in the industry, or was in the industry, for a long time. She just got out. She started as a processor in the mortgage industry. She was a loan originator. She was a broker. She most recently was in underwriting before she got out. So she's always been in the industry.
So kind of in the blood.
Yeah, second nature. Could feel like I could do it with my eyes closed. And then my ex-stepdad was a realtor. So it's all just very familiar. And
so there is a familiar, what's the word? Familial connection, I guess?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's how I got in. And Sean was a little bit confused. He's like, do you really want to, I'm like, yeah. So
were you involved in closing your own investment property?
I was. I feel like I pretty much should have got paid on it for the amount of work that I did for it. Yeah. No. It was
that was the first deal that you were in on.
That was your first deal. Yep. Didn't get paid on it. Then
he decided to stick around from there.
Didn't even get an employee interest rate or anything. So it was kind of this could have been better, but I got a job out of it. So hey,
that works.
Yeah.
And so you've been with Van Dyk ever since.
Yep, that was August of 2020. I started as an admin to Sean Miller. I quickly became an LOA. And then in February of 21, I said, Sean, I appreciate it, but I'm going to start building my own business and continue down that path.
So is your focus nowadays, Marilyn, on the team building side? Because I know you have built a team. You have a team, of your that I've seen at the panels and stuff that you've brought with you. Where does your time now go between helping people with the loan side and the team building side? What's that look like for you now?
That's really gracious that you think that I'm building a team, because I'm not. But that's, I guess, a great observation.
Also, the people that you've brought with you are not necessarily part of your team, just part of the organization.
They're part of my organization. They
Okay.
are part of the Sean Miller team. I am a part of the Sean Miller team, but I strongly believe that if one person can be successful, we can all be successful. So I really like to partner with those who want to hustle just like I do,
Sure.
and have us all involved in being successful. So I think
That's cool.
yeah. So I'm not really team building. I'm team building as a way to just help my associates.
Yeah, no doubt.
But I am in production, and that is where my focus is right now.
So what's your day-to-day look like now when you go about it? What keeps you busy most days? What do you spend your time focused on?
Yeah, I would love to say that I'm doing more lead generating than I am. So I am not the type of person, I don't like to pound the phones, as some people like to call it. I'm not a good cold call person. I'm very much... I build my business around my lifestyle. So that for me makes my job enjoyable. And so that really means, talking to the agents that I'm doing business with, having lunches, inviting people to events and experiences that I enjoy doing. So doing that in addition to, of course, the actual business of doing the pre-quals, getting the pre-approval letters, prepping contracts, locking rates, following the ball from lock to the closing table. I just came from a closing, so I like to attend
Business
closings.
never stops.
Yeah, it never stops. And so I would love to say that my day is more structured than it is, but it's not.
Gotcha.
And maybe there's a way that I can fix that, but I also kind of like my chaotic flow of enjoying what I do day to day.
I get it.
Yeah.
Would you say a decent amount of your energy and focus is on the agent relationship side of things, like on building either new relationships or facilitating or maintaining the ones you already have and adding value to those relationships? What role does that play in your business right now?
Yeah, 100%, because I could go do some lead generation with past clients. I could do some lead generation just, consumer based, but really, for us all collectively to be successful, realtors, title, myself, it really is a team effort. So I do focus a lot of my time and energy on the relationship side of my partners, and giving to them in ways that is beneficial to their business and adds value. That could be anything from, helping to create a listing website, or some co-marketing flyers, or, sometimes it's just, I have a realtor who calls that says, hey, listen, I have a deal that, I had a listing, it's going south. This is what's happening. How do what can I do? Can I get some advice?
Yeah.
So even just giving advice for deals that I'm not involved in,
Yep.
adds value.
No doubt.
So I had that just happen this week. So hopefully,
Yeah, I'm sure. I would imagine that would probably happen a lot, if they trust you and they have that relationship with you, even if for some reason they're not doing that particular deal with you, knowing that you have a certain expertise. I know it's fairly common, more than most people realize, that deals fall apart, So being able to have someone that they can go to, I would think would be a fairly common call.
Yeah. And for any realtor partners that we might start doing business, I can do the hard stuff. I like the hard stuff, but I like the easy stuff too. So don't just give me your fallout. We can start that way if that makes you feel comfortable. I can build some trust that way. But yeah, it's definitely, I think it speaks volumes to the trust and the relationship we have when we can have those conversations, and I can give some guidance like, hey, what do you mean they're changing programs on you because the Hometown Heroes funding is not available? Florida Housing is going to have a fallout of funds on Monday. Here's the information. Tell that other loan originator to call Florida Housing. Tell them at 10 a.m. that they should lock that. Don't flip loans. Don't, that's the path of least resistance.
Right.
Try that. So if they're changing it for some other reason, maybe ask X, Y, or Z questions. And so providing solutions. I love providing solutions.
What are some things, Marilyn, that you feel like most agents maybe don't really know about your role? Maybe they take certain things for granted or don't exactly know what goes into what you do. speak to that a little bit about like things that you've experienced with agents, good or bad. You can be as raw here as you want to. It's okay to. I think what's unique about having some of the partners on is, again, we get to hear the perspective from partners that have been very good experiences with certain agents and bad experiences with agents, because I know that they both exist, right? What are some things that you've experienced, good or bad, that you feel like would maybe offer some insights into how that agent lender relationship and dynamic, works or should work?
Yeah. So, there are good and bad, situations that happen. No loan is as cut and dry as you want to think it will be. There's something that comes up with the property that affects the loan. There's something that comes up with the borrower's financial situation. So there's all sorts of opportunities for challenges to arise. And 90% of the time, there's something that's going to come up, and it's how it's handled. So I would say advice to realtors, and the ones that I really enjoy working with, is that they, when there's a problem, when there's something that comes up, having a really clear, transparent communication between the lender and the realtor allows for solutions that can mitigate and remediate any frustrations. The home buying process can be very stressful. Like most people, first-time home buyers.
For everybody.
It doesn't matter if you're a
Right.
first-time home buyer or if you're buying an investment property. It can be stressful. The amount of paperwork that's needed. We need your second-born kid. Like all the things.
Right.
And on top of that, having hiccups or road bumps that come along the way, there's a lot of heightened emotion. So just really transparent communication is key, I think. So, picking up the phone and calling an agent and saying, hey, listen, this is what's going on. These are my potential solutions. I wanted to talk to you about it. So that way we are on the same page, because sometimes my realtor partners have a different perspective and they might know something that I didn't know.
For sure, yeah.
So we're working collectively towards a solution. So I think just key communication, transparency will help make it a smooth process for everybody involved.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think having open lines of communication, you guys should be operating like you're working together, right? On the same team, you both have the same goal, right? At the end of the day, it's to try to get this deal closed as quickly as possible so everybody can be happy, and, you guys can earn your commissions, and the homeowner's in the home or selling the home as quickly as possible. I mean, that's really the goal. In your experience, Marilyn, when conflicts arise, speaking specifically to the relationship between the lender and the agent, right? When conflicts do arise, my outside perspective or opinion is that a lot of it would have to do with the agent wanting things to move faster than maybe is reality, right? Mm-hmm. Has that been your experience as well? Is like maybe certain agents just having an unrealistic expectation of a time component and how long it takes to actually do something right so that it actually can close? Or is there something else that you feel like is more revolving around what some of the conflicts might be centered on?
Yeah, so I know that is a known kind of like challenge. Everyone gets excited. We get a contract, everyone's excited, the ball's moving, everyone knows the general timeline that it'll take to get, from that contract to the closing table. There are, unique circumstances where something might take longer than it should, mm-hmm. But that's the nature of those circumstances. Mm-hmm. So
even more important to then have open lines of communication when that happens.
Correct. And back to that, we looking at the partnership. So I have different realtor partners that I know I need to do a little bit more due diligence and look a little closer at some of the stuff that they do versus what I do. So I like to stay in my lane, but I know there's some realtors who need a little bit of extra love in the process. So, for example, homeowners insurance, it's crazy right now. And there are some intricacies in different ways, whether it's a manufactured home needing replacement costs, which is, having a hard time finding that for any policies for a manufactured home built before 1995. So, there's a struggle there in providing that guidance to the realtor. Like, don't get in the car and go show this 1978 manufactured home, because chances are let's get a homeowner's insurance quote, because we might have a hard time lending on it because it's not going to fit the bill for what we need for from the insurance standpoint. But looking at 4 points, sometimes lenders look at it, sometimes they don't. I've learned who I should take a second look at that report before we get too far into the homeowner's insurance side of things, to make sure that we don't waste time.
Yep.
So timing is essential, but I personally have not experienced anyone getting upset with the timeline.
When working with Van Dyk, I'm assuming Van Dyk provides certain systems and processes and programs that are best practices that they know have worked, right? I mean, they're a pretty big brand that they're well known. Is that, how much of that is kind of you as Marilyn creating your own ways, right, of doing things and that have worked well for you, and you can then scale that maybe, versus just kind of leaning on whether it's Van Dyk or, any operation, any company that's out there providing kind of the way that things are done. Is there any, do you have that freedom to kind of do things your own way, or are you kind of stuck, not stuck, but are you just having to toe the status line and follow the company guideline?
Yeah. So I think for myself, where I take some pride in having had growth in my business, is that I don't just stand on the guidelines or sidelines and say, that's the processor's job. The processor should get this. This is a condition from the underwriter. The processor is the one in charge of that. I monitor it. I still let the processor and others do their job. But if at some point, 24, 48 hours in, they're having a hard time and getting a hold of the borrower or getting something done, getting the homeowner's insurance bound, I don't just wait. I don't just sit back and say, okay, it'll all work itself out. No, I get on the phone, I make some calls, I get the document in, and we keep it pushing. So I know there are some loan originators who kind of take the sideline of, okay, I did my job, it's on to the next. I'll see you at the closing table. I stay on top of the file through the process. There's also some processes in place, to provide good communication through the process to both the listing side as well as the buyer's agent, the buyer, title, everybody involved. But making sure that I don't just rely on those systems, those emails, those updates, that I personally make a phone call or check in and say, hey, listen, we're doing great. This is where we're at. We're making good time to get where we need to be. So I let the processes work for me. There's some really great foundation there. I take it up a level.
I gotcha.
And I
that
think
has
that's
to
been
do with
helpful.
just like your own personal commitment to, excellent customer service, right?
Correct.
Or the way
Yeah.
that you want to go above and beyond whatever
Yeah.
the expectations are. What do you think, Marilyn, are some of the benefits of working with a Van Dyk Mortgage as compared to any other mortgage company, or even, as you know, in your space, there are a lot of people who just start their own brands, right, and their own brokerages. And so in your opinion, like, what is it about potentially being affiliated with Van Dyk that has its benefits?
Yeah, so I have never been elsewhere, so it's hard to say, you don't know what you don't know. So I think I work for a fantastic direct lender. I like the ease of how they operate. I guess I just don't know what I don't know, so
Okay.
I can't say what maybe the flaws are or what the biggest bets are. But I will say that I love the support and the ease of resources with Van Dyk Mortgage. I can pick up the phone, I can call a national underwriter and say, hey, listen, this is something I'm struggling with, or something that's come across my desk. These are my thoughts. What do you think? What do you think? Tell me what you think. So the access to resources, I think, is a huge benefit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
To me and my business.
And Van Dyk is national, right? Are they?
Yeah.
Are they in all 50 states?
I think we're in 48. If I'm
Okay, that's pretty close.
Yeah. We're pretty much everywhere. So
Is there a particular state that they? Where did they originate? Was it California as their headquarters?
they're headquartered in Michigan.
Oh, they are. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. I don't know why I thought California then. Do you know how big they are in Florida?
Florida is one of our number one states that we
Cool.
do business in. Yeah.
Your focus, though, specifically is really just Tampa Bay, right? For the
No,
most
I
part?
do. I do all of Florida.
You do?
So I've
Okay.
done some stuff in the Panhandle, done stuff off the East Coast. Haven't really branched out to try and do that because I haven't focused enough on my current market to really feel like I should branch out and tap into other markets.
Generally, so your license allows you to write in just Florida, or can you do other states as well?
I'm personally licensed in the state of Florida. So yeah, thought about expanding. Just, again, I haven't tapped into what's in front of me. So why try to expand and keep up with licenses? And, if someone's giving me $1 million deal in Ohio, like, of course I'm going to get licensed and help you out in Ohio. But,
no doubt. I get it. Makes sense.
Yeah.
What are some, you mentioned earlier the idea of the homeowner's insurance. You used that as an example of kind of like a situation that I think some agents might not be aware of, right? What are some other maybe market specific things, or even just new year? It's January 2024. Is there anything that you think is important or relevant to this new year that maybe agents should be aware of when you think about what this year might bring? What are some thoughts there?
Yeah. So I don't have a crystal ball. I'm hopeful that the rates are going to drop a little bit this year. They've already started to drop as of November. They've slowly started to drop a little bit. But, the feds have come out and stated that they anticipate at least 3 rate cuts this year. Investors are banking on 6, so that might cause a little disruption in what actually plays out. Q4 of 2022, there was a lot of economists stating that we would be back down in the 5s by middle of 2023. None of what they said happened. So, I always encourage home buyers that, you can buy now, you can refinance later. But what I think is going to happen is I do believe that rates are hopefully going to get back down into the 6s. And we're going to have a lot of people coming back out, buyers that were previously on the sideline. So
where's prime right now? Is it in the 8s still?
No, we're in the 7s. Yeah. So it's gotten better.
Yes.
There's already been since Christmas time, there's already been an uptick of people coming back out to say, okay, one, it's the new year.
Yeah.
We're done with the holidays. We're ready to kind of revisit this. But 2, the rates are helpful because it impacts their purchasing power.
Right.
As the rate increases, they get less money purchasing power to buy a house.
No doubt. Makes sense. What are some of your favorite things just about the industry as a whole? Why do you love this compared to some of the things you've done? And do you see this as future career for you long term, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I love personally the flexibility of my position. I love being with people. I love helping people. So I think longevity, yes, I plan to be here. I intend to be here for as long as it makes sense for me and my family. But I do think that what I love the most about the industry is helping people and the ability to everyone thinks of their home as their safe place, as their comfortable place, the place where they can really let their hair down, take off their makeup, and enjoy themselves. So I really love the opportunity to help people get into homes where they're going to be making memories for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whether your first kid was born in this house, whether it was the last house you ever lived in and, grandma was there and I remember baking cookies with grandma, that to me is really special, that I play a role in helping someone have a place to call home, that they will forever remember specific memories with the people that they love.
Yeah, it's a unique sale, right? In that perspective, is because there is such an emotional component to it, whether you're the agent, whether you're, the lender, even a home inspector is involved in that piece. Like anybody who's involved in that transaction in some way plays a role in for most people, a lifelong memory that's going to really impact, from some cases, generations, right? And so I do think that there's something kind of cool about that.
Yeah, no, obviously wealth building is important. I can't be a lender and not say that, but for me personally, I really enjoy the emotional side of being in this industry.
You and your husband still invest?
Yes, we only have one investment property at the moment. We are looking to diversify, but we also, it's kind of a pain in the ass, to be
spoken from a lender.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass to do the lending side, but it's also, I don't want to manage properties. Yeah. I want to, live my life differently. And that's,
totally.
And, I'm also a control freak. So like thinking of hiring someone to manage the properties for me, I don't like that idea either. So, we'll get there.
What are some of the biggest challenges that you've experienced so far in this space with lending? I'm assuming this past year or two, with the rates increasing as they have, brought certain amount of challenges, right? Just that you had to deal with. Is it always just kind of rate based, or are there other things that you feel like are also even resonate with you more?
I would be absurd to not mention rates, because 2023 has been one of the lowest years for real estate sales. So rates definitely have been a challenge. Homeowners insurance is becoming a real challenge, especially here in Florida. But, I don't like to kind of put challenges out just based on the market, because I think every loan originator, every real estate agent, they're a business owner.
Yep.
So it's a matter of, what do you want to do? Where do you want to be? How do you want to succeed?
How do you respond to it? Yeah.
Yeah. How do you respond to it? So, with a low market, if you're good maintaining past production, or you're satisfied, everyone wants growth, right? But if you're satisfied and you can be happy knowing that you did the best you could that year based on those challenges, then good for you.
Yeah.
I applaud you for that. But challenges, interest rates, homeowners insurance, going through the roof. And then I think for me personally, my own business is not being able to let go to leverage others in order to grow my business in a different way and focus my strengths in the time that is needed.
Help me understand a little bit more about how that organization works. Because you mentioned earlier, you're not really building a team of your own, right, within Van Dyk. Yet it also seems like you have the ability and flexibility to add staff or whatever you feel like you would need. So what does that look like from a vision standpoint? Like, what would building your organization look like for you?
Yeah, so I would first start with, probably an admin would be cost effective, but really I would just like to start with an LOA. Loan originator assistant is able to do some of the things just as an LO would do. So, helping to set up files, import online applications, some of the not sales stuff, but the actual
the
nuts
operational
and bolts,
tasks.
the operation of it, it is where I think, would be the first step for me. Van Dyk Mortgage does have a great team of processors, of underwriters, closers, all that kind of good stuff. So for me to build the business, an LOA would be crucial in that regard. And then from there, as my business continues to grow and my referrals continue to grow, then I could bring in another LO to be able to provide them leads.
Yep.
I don't want to bring on somebody that I can't help feed. I can provide guidance. I can provide insight. I can provide product knowledge, that kind of stuff. But for me to really feel comfortable to bring on a team member in that capacity, I would want to be able to give them some leads, and that'll take a little bit for me, I think.
Does that so you do have the freedom within Van Dyk to be able to do that at your will, depending on where you're at with your growth? And ultimately, would those people be getting paid through you and your company, or are they paid through Van Dyk separately?
Yeah, so the way we are structured, we're W-2 employees with Van Dyk Mortgage. So if I were to bring on an LOA, they would be paid through corporate, or I would need to restructure. Right now I'm under a branch. I could at any time restructure and say, hey, I want to start a branch. Let's talk about a P&L. Let's get things in place. I could also at any time just say, hey, I don't want to work for a branch. I just want to be an outside loan originator and a standalone person doing business. So there's a lot of flexibility with Van Dyk in how you can choose to operate your business in whatever point you're at with your growth.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And depending on where you're comfortable with at the moment, and then that can always evolve and change into other things as well. So I get that. For people who might not know you at all personally, Marilyn, let's give a couple of thoughts just on the personal side for people to get to know you better, since I know you tend to be the person, you're the face many times at our Pop Series panels that you come to, and some of the other events I know that we put on with real producers. So you mentioned that you're married. What's your husband do for work?
Yeah, my husband, John, we've been married for about 4 years. He runs a business that essentially prevents car bombers from getting into facilities. So if you've been to a military military base. If you've been around Capitol Hill, White House.
He's keeping us safe.
Yes, he likes to say he kills terrorists. I'm like, I don't know if you should say that to everybody, but yeah, that's fine.
One way of putting it.
Essentially, you're kind of, yes, doing that. So yeah, he
It's his own business, or does he work for the government?
No, he does not work for the government. 60% of his business is government projects, military bases, buildings. There are some small and emerging commercial opportunities. So if you're familiar, if you go to Target and those big red balls outside of Target, those are technically a bollard. So those are to prevent a car from breaching into the storefront.
Interesting.
So you see a lot more of that.
I just thought it was part of their design.
Nope, there is a purpose for that. So yeah, he was a majority owner. He just merged with his steel manufacturer about a year ago to offload some of the heaviness of running the business by himself. Obviously, it was better for profit margins too to make that decision. So he's still working heavily, but not majority owner anymore.
Nice.
Which is
how long
nice.
You guys been married?
4 years. Yep, we got
Any
married.
kids yet?
2 kids, 2-year-old and 1-year-old, Damiano and Giovanni.
Italian names, huh?
Yeah, my husband's Italian, so we usually go back once a year to Italy to visit his family. They live in the northern.
Scolaro is your adopted name?
Yeah, Scolaro. Okay. Yeah, my maiden name is Huff, Hough. You can't imagine the torment that I went through with pronunciation of that through my life.
So you got your hands full with 2 little ones at home.
Yeah, no, definitely. My oldest one, Damiano, I was pregnant when we were winning the first Stanley Cup more recently.
Yeah.
And then he got an opportunity to sit in the Stanley Cup. So I have a picture of him as a baby with his butt in the cup, which is cool. And
you guys big hockey fans?
Huge hockey fans. And I think through osmosis, Damiano has become infatuated with hockey to the point that he's got his helmet on, he's got his hockey pants on, he's got a stick and gloves in his hand all the time, and making rules of no hockey sticks allowed in the bed, take your helmet off, like your head's getting sweaty.
And he's only 2?
He's 2 and he's obsessed.
Already, that's early, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot and I love it.
I love sports too, but I don't think I really got into it until I was 5 or 6.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how long this goes because it's going to be an expensive
that's not a cheap sport to get into.
Yeah,
but a fun one, and this is a good market for it. It seems like it's the Lightning fan base is pretty rabid around here for sure.
Yeah, I just want him to keep his teeth,
At least past 8 years old. Well, once they all fall out and come back in again.
Yeah. Lose them.
You can get rid of those kid teeth if you need to. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's cool. What do you guys love to do for fun other than go to hockey games?
We travel. So we're big travelers. My husband likes to joke. He's like, why am I going to save the money? I'm just going to spend it before I die. And I'm like, fair. That's fair. I like that. We travel quite a bit. We usually take 1 or 2 big trips a year, overseas. We try to do some stuff here as well. So
nice. You have a favorite location?
Get around. I would say my most, yes, this is 2-part. My favorite is Italy. There's such a just relaxed,
you can't beat the food.
Can't beat the food. But my favorite experience or travels of all time was a trip to the Middle East.
That's cool.
Walking into the Great Pyramids, walking into the Valley of the Kings, seeing some of that ancient, archaeological structures in Egypt.
Okay. I've never been to Egypt, but I did spend a couple of weeks in Israel years ago when I was 18 and in college actually. And that was awesome. I'd like to go back at some point, but it's been a little while now.
Yeah, it's tough now. So
yeah, it's a tough time to go out there. Now I have some friends though that live there year round in Jerusalem actually. Yeah. And they've been safe, thankfully, and everything's been okay for them. But there's so much history out there. It's awesome. Yeah,
agree. That was a part of the trip too. We went to Israel, and I really enjoyed Israel. Yeah. We went into Jordan and saw Petra. So just something most people don't get an opportunity to do. So I feel really grateful that we, try to get out there and experience other cultures.
Yeah, no doubt.
I think that's important.
I'm a huge fan of travel. So we have 5 little ones at our house. And so we try to travel with them as much as we can. I think just creating different experiences and memories that way is some of the stuff that I think you really remember no matter how old you are, and I think the more you travel with your family, especially, the tighter the family tends to get, and those bonds kind of stay with you for a long time. So it's a big part of our, annual planning.
When did you start traveling with the kids? What age? Did you just start right out of the gate?
Yeah, right away.
Yeah.
I mean, we just had a baby in January, and she was on a trip with us 2 months after birth.
Yeah.
I mean, so at this point, it's like we're going anyway with the family. So whoever's coming on, if you're a new part of the family, you're just joining in at this point, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't necessarily wait very long. We try to get them onto some sort of a travel schedule right away.
Yeah, no, for sure. We did that too. Both me and my husband, we felt it was important. A lot of, I think, new parents feel that they have to stop living their life for a certain amount of time, but it's like, nope, the baby, let's go.
Plug right in.
We're going.
That's right.
Yeah. No time for the weary, baby. Let's go.
I think for a lot of people, that's when they have their first child, I think that can be a big shock, in a lot of relationships. And so that's hard, I think, for them to try to get back to any normalcy with that first one. But I think once you're at like 5, like we are, you throw another one in the mix. Rob's like laughing. He has one over there, so he's trying to figure it out. He's like, how do you ever get to 5? I don't even know. But one day, Rob. Couple rapid fire questions I got for you, and then we'll put a bow on the episode with a final question. So, do you have a favorite like book or author or even a seminar that you've attended that you feel like has made a big impact on you, professionally or personally? Yeah, no.
I've been pregnant for a couple years. I have a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old, so I haven't had much time to read lately, and even though I should read more kind of educational self-help books, I just really don't get into it. It's not my thing. It makes me want to take a nap.
Do you have a favorite podcast other than this one, obviously?
No podcast. Even though I look a little younger, I'm old at heart, and like I have a hard time catching up with some of the new trends and stuff. So podcasts still feel like this is new.
It is trendy, isn't it?
It's trendy. It's new. I don't know what I'm doing, So
it's funny. I really didn't even listen to podcasts until maybe about 2 years ago. That's when I really started, and it's still kind of random, but now with the phones every day, I mean, it's just an easy thing to put on in the car or, put on just randomly, like whenever. And so I've gotten more into it over the last couple of years and have like a series of them now that I really like, depending on the topics you're into.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how many podcasts are out there nowadays. I mean, there's just thousands upon thousands.
I'm also very indecisive, so the choices of thousands I don't think would bode well with me.
I did see a stat though that like 80% of them stop producing new episodes within their first like 8 months.
Oh,
I don't know how factual that is. It's just something I saw, but I can get it. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do to stay out consistently. So, I mean, I feel excited that Real Producers Podcast has at least been out there for longer than that at this point, right? But you already mentioned your favorite food, I guess. Is it Italian or another way?
So personally, I love sandwiches. I'm a sandwich queen. You can give me any sandwich. I love sandwiches.
Yeah, Jimmy John's gal?
No, not Jimmy John's. I like... I don't discriminate against Jimmy John's, but
Jersey Mike's
is definitely, Firehouse.
I'm a Jersey Mike's sub member. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. Sandwiches. So it doesn't matter what it is. Egg salad sandwich, tuna sandwich. It could be, a turkey club sub number 9 from Jersey Mike's. I mean,
even has the order down. All right.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Favorite movie or TV show?
Again, no, I haven't been,
You haven't watched TV in 3 years?
People ask me this all the time, and I'm like, yeah, no, like when my kids go to bed, and first of all, I'm not as great of a parent. Like my kids don't go to bed at 7, and like I have alone time with my husband. That doesn't really happen.
Right.
So, no, like the kids are going to bed at 9 we have hockey on, and then when they're out, I'm like, I'm out. Y'all, I got to get some sleep too. No, I'm done. Mama's tired. Yeah.
Have you always been a hockey fan, or is that something your husband brought in, or no?
Yeah. So me and my husband met at the Amalie Arena.
Oh, okay.
In the Cigar Lounge.
Nice.
So yeah,
So it's always been part of your thing.
It's always kind of been there. Yeah. So.
Are you a fan of other sports teams too around here, or just hockey's your thing?
Just hockey is my thing. I love traveling to see baseball stadiums. Mm-hmm. I don't keep up with the stats of baseball per se these days, but I was very into baseball before I got married, and I've hit 15 or 16 of the stadiums so far. Yeah,
that's one of my goals, is to attend every stadium.
Yeah,
I'm not a huge hockey fan as much, even though I do like hockey, but baseball and football are my two kind of favorite sports, and so I have it on my list to try to go to every football stadium, every baseball stadium for sure.
How many have you hit?
It's a good question. I got to count them up. What is there? 32 stadiums. So I'm over 20. So I'm in like probably around 25 or so.
Okay, great.
I still got a little ways to go for football. I think there's about the same, right? 30 teams, I think, in football nowadays. So I'm probably around more like 15 in football.
Okay. Did you have a favorite of the baseball stadiums?
Well, I grew up in the Northeast, so I'm a New
Okay.
York guy
Okay.
at heart, and so Yankee Stadium's always going to be like my home, right?
The old stadium?
The old one for
the
sure.
Old one,
I mean,
yeah.
I've been to the new one many times, and it is beautiful, but it doesn't have the same energy that the old one had. That was special.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice. Okay, great.
Yeah, but I've traveled a lot. Out of other ones that I visited, I would say the one in San Francisco was gorgeous.
AT&T Park was one
Yeah.
of my favorite. Yeah,
It's a very
love
cool
that.
ballpark.
Yeah.
And then from a football side, I would say the one in Seattle was really cool.
Okay.
The Seahawks, I forget what they call it, Lumen, I think, Lumen Field.
Okay.
That's a really unique design, and it's just a cool layout. I enjoyed that. I went to the Superdome just recently, a month ago. The Giants were playing the Saints, and Giants played like trash, but it was a cool arena. That was my first time ever going to a game there at the Superdome, and it was loud. It was a cool. It's a dome, obviously, but it was a different scene for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say those are the two.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
Have you been to Pittsburgh?
I've been to the baseball stadium,
Great. Okay.
but I have not been to a football game there.
That one's on the hit list for this year.
It's a cool.
Pittsburgh,
That's
yeah.
actually up there too. I went there 2 summers ago with my family. We went to. We had an event in Connecticut, family thing, and then we went to a Yankees game 4th of July week, and then we drove to. Eventually, we went to Hershey Park, and then made our way to Pittsburgh, and we did go to a Pirates game with the kids.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know if this was the best way to do this, but we did a trifecta. We went to the Milwaukee Brewers, and then the following day in the morning we did the the Cubs.
Yeah,
and
that's a
then
cool
that
stadium.
afternoon we went to the White Sox. So it was like
Nice.
high energy, amazing. And then we went to the White Sox, and it was like, so I don't know if that was the best choice
I've never been
for
to
us,
a White
but
Sox game. I have
yeah.
been to Wrigley. That's a really cool experience for sure.
the energy is different.
It is very.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you expect that, I guess, in a way. That's just Cubs fans are kind of known for that.
Fenway, Cubs, like
Right.
you kind of
got that
go
history
in.
there. It's
Yeah.
special. Never been to Milwaukee though either. That's another one on the list.
Yeah, it was a cool stadium. It was partially open. It had like a retractable roof.
They got the
so-
slide right with
Yeah.
Billy the Brewer or somebody sliding down there.
So it's fun. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna put a button on the episode, Marilyn, with what I call the legacy question. So this is one to get you to think. So we all, at one point, you might be done with mortgages. Who knows? Maybe not. It'll stay in the blood. But when you think back and you kind of take a thought about what you'd want to be most remembered for, whether that's professionally or even personally, what are some thoughts that come to mind as far as what do you think would be most important to you to be remembered by in a certain way?
I think probably, I would like to be remembered as someone who enjoyed their life, who didn't let challenges or adversity stop me from enjoying it. Because I think there's too many people these days that just focus on the negative and don't really continue to live their lives. So just knowing that I lived my life and I enjoyed it, and that I helped as many people as I could along the way, through charity work, through my business work, and helping people become homeowners. I think those would be the two most important things for someone to take away.
We only have one life. We might as well enjoy it, right?
That's right. Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Well, thanks for being here. You did really well as a rookie.
Thanks. This was a lot of pressure for the inaugural. Didn't know what I was walking into.
I think
but
we might have
appreciate
more
it.
partners on. I think Marilyn did pretty well. I don't think she screwed it up for everybody else. So I think we're going to have more partners on in the weeks to come. We look forward to that. Marilyn, if somebody wanted to pick your brain and just ask you some questions or learn a little bit more about or has a need in the mortgage world, what's the best way for someone to reach you?
Yeah. So Marilyn Scolaro, Dyk Mortgage. My phone number, 813-244-4941. You could also reach me via email, but I'm not going to rattle that off to you because you'll probably get it wrong because you're probably going to put an E at the end of Van Dyke, and there's no E at the end of Van Dyke.
I've done that before, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yes.
Call me, text me, 813-244-4941. And then I didn't mention earlier, but Hometown Heroes for 2024, there should be a new allocation of funding July 1st. So we'll know more about that, but great program to help some first-time homebuyers.
Very cool.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, very knowledgeable there with the Van Dyk team. And like I said, they've been a partner not only for Tampa Bay real producers, but also some of our other real producer markets as well. So we're going to end this episode the way that we always do, with a challenge for anybody who took the time to listen to it or watched it live on our stream. If you invest energy and time into listening to this as a podcast and then not take an action step by the time we're done, you're really missing out on the goal of what this podcast is. We want to try to help accelerate your career, accelerate even your personal growth. And so take at least one action step from this conversation with Marilyn that you feel like can help you do that. Maybe you're somebody who has an interest in learning more about lending and you just need to have a conversation, with Marilyn to be able to ask some questions. Maybe you're somebody who is an agent who, you need to have another lender in your team. And so that might be somebody you can reach out to and figure out with a troubled deal or something that you need some help with. Maybe you just need to, marry an Italian man so you can travel like Marilyn did. Whatever it might be, take an action step. Do something from our conversation today. Maybe it's booking a trip to the Middle East or one of the other spots that Marilyn mentioned. But if you don't take an action step, then you're really missing out. So do one thing that's going to move you forward in the direction you want. And if you do that, then the time you invested in this podcast will be well worth it. And we will see you, of course, on the next episode of Tampa Bay Real Producers. We'll see you then.